not really sure all the time how to react. You know you have to say something. You know you have to disrupt that comment, but you also want to make it a teachable moment for the student who made the comment. You want the students hearing the comments to feel supported, that they have an ally, and you want everyone to understand that that's not allowed in our culture without taking it to an embarrassment level of kids say the wrong thing sometimes, and they don't think about what they're saying sometimes. So we've been practicing that for about 3 years. We're in contract negotiations right now with a leader in this area who we saw at the Principals Institute this summer, hoping to bring her to our campus to work with our teachers on it as well, because she was definitely a dynamic person that kind of made it very accessible to practice those skills.
Another area for growth for us, this one is not shocking, but it's data literacy. For staff, for me, even in my work that I do, I was a former history teacher, and if you had told me then that I would be staring at the amount of data that I stare at, I wouldn't have believed you. But for one of the things we need to be able to teach our staff is how can they look at the MCAS data or just classroom-based data? How are they able to use it, read it, disaggregate data, and then to, on the spot or shortly thereafter, make adjustments on the fly, if you will, to instructional styles and differences among kids. So that's definitely an area. Learning how to read it isn't necessarily give off the warm and fuzzies to a lot of folks, but it's necessary and it can make lighter work for us in the long run to just be able to understand it and make those changes.
And the final area we want to grow in this year is, now that we have that vision of the graduate, how are we going to embed it into the school culture? So in August, during those professional development days, departments took time to develop lessons around the skills that are specific to their courses. They also worked hard to embed the language of the vision of the graduate into their course syllabi. And the other aspects, you're going to start to see pride pin, nomination form be based on the skills and the vision of the graduate. Our new honors TA program, so we have 11 in our launch year here. We have 11 juniors and seniors that are acting as teacher assistants in freshman level core content classes with teachers to try and provide support, positive modeling on how to be a high school student, that kind of thing. And their rubric to evaluate the job they're doing is all based on the vision of the graduate skills and competencies. So those are just some examples early on, but we want to find ways to embed it more. Finally, you can switch to the last one and click on the school improvement plan. Our goals, it's a 12 or 13-page document. Rather than try to put screenshots up there that you can't read, you have the whole plan in your packet. But it covers the 4 areas that we talked about tonight: expanding MTSS, continuing to improve the culture and inclusivity of our school, ensuring that all students have the skills to be successful beyond Minichog, and just maintaining a positive school culture and climate. We'll answer any questions they might have.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Your student climate that you do 3 times a year, what's the participation rate on the part of students?
The formative assessment, the dipsticking tool,
The climate, to find out how kids are feeling
in class.
Yeah.
So we do that 2 or 3 times a month. Yeah, it's a short 10-question Google form. It does not go to the evaluators. It's just a tool for teachers themselves to get feedback. When we were designing it and we talked to teachers about it, we felt it was better if it was only a tool that they saw. And the kids understand that too. Like, there's no big brother watching what I answer here. It's me and the teacher. So they have very positive results and are able to change things in their classrooms based on what they're seeing. One of the questions that they found most helpful to teachers was, tell me something that you want the teacher to know. And they get all kinds of responses like,
Now, is that information reported to the teachers in the aggregate or the individual student?
that is all reported to the teacher of their individual class section. I don't see it, Nikki doesn't see it, no administrator sees it, just the teacher sees it of their class. So they can have a dipstick 2-3 times a month on how their class is feeling about me as an instructor and how they're feeling as a member of the class community.
Thank you. You do a lot of remediation during the school year. What is provided for students in the summer? Or is anything provided for the students in the summer?
Yeah, we used to have, remember the old MCAS grant? We have tutoring that way. And what we've been able to do in the past, and that was really through the ESSA funds and working with Aaron on this, is we've done a credit recovery program, which is different than summer school. When you run summer school, it's always hard because I have 3 kids that need US 1 summer school, and I have 5 kids that need Algebra 2, and I have 2 kids that need sophomore English, and it's hard to support the funding for those size classes. With credit recovery, what we've done is if you finished with a 45 to 59, we would provide you one-on-one tutoring for up to 10 hours with a teacher to make up the work that you needed to get to a 60 to get the credits. So we pay the teacher of record. So if I was the history teacher and Nikki got a 55 in my class, we pay me an hour to mark down the assignments that the student has to do in order to get to a 60. Then we pay a tutor to work with that kid one-on-one during the summertime. The struggle will be, now that ESSER funds have gone away, is can we find ways to continue to fund that?
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, great job, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I invite Principal Mulder to present your school improvement plan.
Hey everyone, good to see you.
Sharon, good to see you.
Aaron's gonna put up a slide presentation. And I know you have a copy of the school improvement plan in your packet as well. I'd like to begin just by thanking the members of our school improvement council. We had Kate Rublick, who was a former parent of Green Meadow students, who is a librarian at the Hampton Public Library. Rachel Adams is a parent. Rebecca Zach is a classroom teacher. And myself, I'm on the council as well. We have had larger councils in previous years. This year it looks like it's a little bit smaller, but again, we've had probably twice as many members in previous years. I also want to send a shout out to all the teachers and all the staff members at Green Meadows who help us implement the school improvement plan. Without that, it's not possible, so a shout out to them. And like the high school, I'll begin also by sharing some glows, things that we're really, really proud of at Green Meadows. I think having been the last principal to share the school improvement plan, I'm guessing there are some similarities. I know my elementary principal colleagues and I are a really great team, and we worked over this past year on some of the shared goals, and one of those being multi-tiered systems of support. You know, it's a district-wide initiative, so it was a focus for us. We were able to use this past year to really refine all the systems and practices that we have in place for universal screening, for data meetings, and for intervention plans for students. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Our district was also very fortunate that we were awarded the DESE Early Literacy Grant, and the grant provided a great deal of professional development and consultation for staff around evidence-based literacy practices, and our school was able to create short and long-term goals for the year. We encouraged staff to craft professional practice goals and student learning goals that were aligned with strengthening our literacy knowledge and our practices. So identifying tier 2 and tier 3 literacy intervention as a strength feels very, very appropriate. I think one of the things that staff got really, really good at this year is delivering small group literacy intervention. I do think they're also very proud of the work that they've done this year. They were analyzing data and determining interventions and supports for students who were at risk. You probably also heard that literacy got the front seat at the table, and that was certainly true for Green Meadows. We talked a lot about literacy practices this past year, and one of our grows is kind of flipping the switch towards math. Our final grow, probably one of the things I'm most proud of, is the teacher teams and the shared leadership at Green Meadows School. We have several teams, as do all the other building principals. We have an early literacy core team. We have math and literacy curriculum councils, safety teams. We also have climate teams, and probably a handful of other teams. But what I can tell you is our staff have the capacity to lead. And this year I had a handful of brand new staff members and staff that came from other buildings to Green Meadows. And one of the things that I give to staff as a gift is a book by Brene Brown. She's one of my favorite authors, and she's a speaker as well. And I give a book called Daring to Lead, and it talks about daring greatly and rising strong at work. I also give them an article about finding their marigolds, and I write them a nice little welcome letter. And in doing so, it gives them permission to lead, and they take that. And that's just been great to see the leadership in all aspects of the building. That's probably what I'm most proud of. So for grows, the areas that we are continuing to work on is math intervention at tiers 2 and 3. This upcoming year, kindergarten through grade 2, we'll be using an intervention called Ready, Set, Math, and it's grounded in math recovery. Our students in grades 3 through 5 will be focusing on something called priming, and this is a practice that introduces students to a new skill or a concept that's prepping them for what's coming ahead. And I didn't attend this professional development, but I had colleagues who did, and what they were told is that math is different than literacy, and in literacy oftentimes you'll find programs and interventions that fit really nicely where we have gaps. And in math it's not as easy, and so that's probably why literacy has kind of been what we've done first, and now we're transitioning into math. I do feel like teachers struggled somewhat this year trying to figure out how best to support students for math intervention, but we do have some things in place already, some interventions. Our coaches will be supporting teachers. Our 4th graders, and I don't know if John has made you aware of this already, but a handful of our 4th graders will be participating in Imagine Learning small group targeted intervention, also known as high dosage math, and they will be receiving tutoring 3 days a week for half an hour each day. So that's something new. There are 12-week cycles and various cycles throughout the year. Some of our 4th and 5th grade teachers are also taking part in a math intervention professional development study. And this PD includes 5 different modules, and there are activities that focus on some of the high priority topics like decimals and fractions. And teachers will be learning about evidence-based strategies to support their math intervention block. So that is exciting, and that is brand new. Another growth for us is we will be continuing to incorporate more teaching practices that are discussed in the books, Building Thinking Classrooms and Mathematics. Several of our teachers have participated in book studies over the summer, and they begin to incorporate several practices, including ones like using vertical non-permanent surfaces and visible random groupings. Students are given problem-solving tasks. So those are some of the practices in the first 2 toolkits, and in this year we'll be diving deeper into toolkits 3 and 4. And then one of the final things is peer observations. So really giving teachers the opportunity to get into each other's classrooms, because we forget that some of the best professional development is when we give teachers time to spend in each other's classrooms. We have teachers in 5th grade and 4th grade who have spent very little time in kindergarten and 1st grade. So giving them the opportunity to really see what the instruction looks like in those younger grades will only strengthen kind of their instruction. So, they're excited for that, so I feel like that, that's half of it. Teachers are excited to do that. So we're still kind of working out what is it going to look like, what is the structure going to look like, but lots of great enthusiasm for that. And then our 3rd grow, it's a grow, but it's something that we continue to build on, and it has to do with the work we've done so far around creating an inclusive school community. One of the activities that we did for our Back to School PD Day was we asked staff to think about how do we grow inclusivity in a way that helps students, staff, and families feel seen and valued. And in teams, staff were asked to think about it and to think about a potential year-long theme that would speak to this work. I have come up with themes in the past, and they're hard to keep alive alone, so this felt like it was the perfect fit. Staff, brainstormed lots of different ideas and activities that we could do with staff, and they kind of presented those to each other. And then what I did is I created a quick Google survey and asked staff to kind of vote on the theme for the year. And the one that staff voted on was a theme called Be the One. And we have a bulletin board that's in the front of our school, and it reads, individually, we are one drop, together we are an ocean. And so the phrase, be the one, will encourage students to, fill in that blank. What does it look like if you are being the one to invite a new student to sit with you at lunch? Be the one to ask somebody who looks as though they're left out at recess to join you. So it seems simple, but we will be using our school assemblies, we will be using our radio show to really highlight students who are showing how they are being the one who, and then hoping to embrace those inclusive practices. So we're excited about that theme as well. So our first goal is curriculum. I've kind of bulleted also. I know that you have the detailed plan in front of you, and I'll try to be brief. All of our grades are implementing Tier 1 instruction to all students with fidelity. For mathematics, they're using illustrative math, Amplify CKLA for literacy, and our second step curriculum is being used for our social emotional learning. We have a schedule that ensures that Tier 1 instruction happens for the allotted time each day. We also have a half an hour block dedicated to literacy small group intervention and math intervention as well. We are administering universal screeners 3 times a year and analyzing screening data. We've created literacy intervention cycles and intervention plans for students. Teachers have the intervention resources that they need, like I mentioned. These are, evidence-based programs. We're using UFly, various structured literacy routines, and other explicit systematic programs. Co-teaching is also happening, and that has really strengthened our Tier 1 instruction. Last year was the first year that we really did it. We did it in literacy in grades 1, grades 2, and in grade 5. And this year we're growing co-teaching to grade 3. So this is giving, general education teachers and special education teachers the opportunity to, work alongside one another and learn from one another. And we've seen a lot of success. We just so happen to have a special education teacher who is also a reading specialist. So she brings a great deal of knowledge to teaching of literacy. So that has been, really, truly amazing. And it's been great watching both teachers grow and students getting what they need within the classroom. So for universal screening and for the intervention cycles, I talked a little bit about those already. Another thing that we were able to do was to create a decodable library that is aligned with UFly. And, these are all decodable texts that teachers can borrow at different grade levels. So that's brand new. We did not have a decodable library previously. And then, I talked a little bit about the PD that staff participated in, instructional rounds for mathematics, building thinking classrooms, which strengthened our Tier 1 math instruction. And then we were making really good use of CPT time and faculty meeting time and coaching cycles to provide professional learning to strengthen, amplify illustrative math and tiered interventions. And then the other thing that we started to introduce at the end of last year and talked a little bit about it at our back to school PD was introducing the Teaching for Robust Understanding for Mathematics, or the TRUE rubric. And we're using it as a foundation for thinking about, for planning, observing, and reflecting on classroom teaching. And there are 5 different dimensions to this rubric. And classrooms that do well in these 5 dimensions are producing students who are powerful thinkers. So we've identified as a school 2 dimensions that we'll focus on for this upcoming year. The first is equitable access to content. And that really talks about the extent to which classroom activity structures invite and support active engagement of all students. And then the second one that we're doing is called agency, ownership, and identity, and that really speaks to the extent to which students are able to contribute to conversations, build on each other's ideas, and to develop agency or the willingness to engage in the content. So more to come on that one. So our climate goal is our second goal. We've accomplished a lot here. We've been able to maintain our fully implemented teams, including our safety team, climate team, stat teams, etc. We're proud that we have transitioned, and this is year 2 for us. We've transitioned from counselor-led second step lessons to teacher-led lessons in all of our classrooms. So that feels really good. Teachers are talking the talk, and they're feeling more and more confident. They previously have had the opportunity to observe counselors teach these lessons, and they were more as an observer participator, and now they're taking a really strong lead, which is great. At the end of the year last year, our climate team members participated in a climate institute, and we were able to get a lot accomplished in that full day. We were able to update our second step pacing guides to include monthly topics, including growth mindset, empathy, and kindness. And we've identified specific practices like learning how to manage emotions and learning how to use problem-solving steps. We've also included various read-alouds that focus on diversity and inclusion. One of the things our school adjustment counselor has done this previous year and the year before that was to administer friendship surveys to every student in every classroom. And what these surveys help us do is to really get a sense of whether or not students are feeling a sense of belonging and connection with their, with their students, their peers, and with staff. And then we're able to take those surveys to form tiered intervention groups and to try to support students. Our GM grants, that's one of our school-wide acknowledgements. Those get a little stale over time, so we had to zhuzh ours up a little bit this year. So we added a little bit of color. The other thing that we did is we kind of tweaked our morning radio show so that we are reinforcing the second step topics that we've aligned for each one. And then, finally, we're just continuing to explore ways that we can embrace diversity and really celebrate inclusivity in our school. We are doing some things already. We are celebrating Heritage Months. We are really giving, kids the opportunity to build connections with one another and recognize that we have, different backgrounds and experiences, and to be able to, really appreciate those. So that's what it looks like, in elementary school. So the student support goal, this was the MTSS goal, the one that I've already spoken a little bit about. So I don't want to repeat all of what I said, but again, this was just the opportunity to, really develop and implement and refine the protocols that we had in place for universal screening, for our data meetings, our intervention review cycles, and using things like decision trees to make decisions about students and how they're moving through the different tiers. And again, there was a ton of staff training on learning how to interpret data, how to administer progress monitoring, and so forth. Tiered interventions, I spoke already about that, the various interventions that we have in place. We have them in place for literacy and for math as well. And then, we're continuing to monitor student progress along with the fidelity of the intervention. Are students getting the intervention, every single day? Are there barriers for when they're not? And are we able to kind of document whether or not there's been fidelity to the intervention? We also want to try to, when students are at or above the benchmark, to provide opportunities for enrichment for students. In the past, it's looked like book clubs. You always need an adult to really be willing to support students in some of these enrichments. And I've kind of given an elbow jab to some former colleagues of mine who may know a little something about science and wondering if I can have them help with me. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's what I'm saying. I had to ask you publicly, Cheryl. That's a lot. But kids really do enjoy those times. So we are looking to, obviously give more thought to what that could look like for those particular students. The fourth goal is just our communication goal. We are already making really good use of faculty meeting times and our curriculum planning times, giving staff the opportunity to share updates. Our math curriculum council, shares every month for math and literacy. Our safety team shares updates. When we did our back to school admin retreats with John Provost, he did a little training with us about, coaching and working with our admin assistants. And one of the things that he did say is that when your building can run on your own without you, you've kind of made it. And so, you know, being able to encourage all these staff members to take the lead in different places has been wonderful. There are times where I'll go try to problem solve something, and I'll ask somebody a question, and they'll say, but, it's already done. And so that's really, really nice. So again, just really, really good communication between staff members and sharing with staff members. The family communication is just another area. You know, we continue to send our monthly newsletters. There is an area in every newsletter that gives families the opportunity to share goals. What are those things we're doing great? Where are the areas that we can continue to grow? And what are some questions that you have? In the past, I found that we get a lot of, you know, feedback from parents early on, and we don't get as much, but it gives them the opportunity, you know, that survey is always there and they can always add to it. So we use that as well. In addition to, you know, weekly newsletters and class dojo that we use. We also drafted several letters to families just explaining kind of what MTSS is and really letting them know about kind of our universal screening, our, you know, data and the intervention needs and the learning goals that we're setting for students. And, you know, we did that as a collaborative elementary team. So those are firmly in place. And then our last goal is just, you know, the leadership goal. And I feel like this is a thread, but you know, we've had a lot of success, as I said, with building teacher capacity this year by creating those different leadership opportunities, including math instructional rounds, and you know, observing differentiated learning labs, etc. And then one of the other things that I do think, you know, was a really great opportunity is we had all this literacy professional development for our teachers, and they were after school sessions. And paraprofessionals working alongside students in the classroom were given the opportunities to attend this professional development, and they did. So our, you know, kindergarten paras were in attendance, other inclusion in paras were in attendance, and it really speaks to you know, the pride they take in the work that they do. So that was really great. And then I'll just close by just mentioning briefly, you know, Green Meadows had the opportunity to participate in the Massachusetts Dyslexia Institute. We had a team of staff members, including myself, a school psychologist, a literacy coach, a special educator, and a gen ed teacher. It was a 45-hour graduate level course, and we learned, you know, a great deal of, you know, what we had already been learning about literacy practices. And one of the things I think it did is we really recognized how advanced the Hampton-Wilbraham Regional School District is in terms of where we are in literacy. We created a needs assessment. We were able to do a lot of great reflection, and then as a team, we were able to draft a dyslexia implementation plan for the district. So, you know, we felt very accomplished about doing that as well. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Hopefully that wasn't too long.
Yeah, I'm just curious about a student day, a student week, and how much access to art, music, physical education, drama, recess, and with all the interventions, are students given the opportunity to participate in some of it, if not all of it?
Yes, every single day. So the way that it's structured at Green Meadows School is students have a week long of physical education, and then they have a week long of lab science, and then they have a week long of either art. We do art half year, and then we do music the other half year. We also have opportunities for students in grades 3 through 5 to participate in our Green Meadows School chorus, and they also have an opportunity to participate in strings in those grade levels as well. So
That's good to hear. How about recess?
Yeah, recess every day. Yeah. And one of the things our school improvement council has done previously, and we did not do it this year, is we created enrichment opportunities for students at school, and our staff members helped do those. We had cooking one year, you know, we had physical education activities, we had various STEM and science opportunities for students, and it gave students the opportunity, and we especially liked it when staff were able to kind of facilitate these enrichments, because it had a different feel to it, right? So they were after school. One of the enrichments was just games. We brought in various board games, and you know, kids were able to play games with grade levels that they don't typically get to spend a lot of time in. Michelle Boudreau at one point was on the School Improvement Council for Green Meadows and helped a great deal with kind of getting those enrichments off the table, how do I think about it, so.
If you would allow me to amplify your answer to that, one additional piece I'd just like to mention is that intervention blocks are built into the infrastructure of the schedule. So part of that was designed to prevent students from being taken out of core instruction or receive interventions. It also means that they're not taken out of arts, music, any of those other activities to receive interventions.
That's great to know. It's like we're looking at the whole child, not just the academics. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, John.
If I may just, I brought this up with some of the other elementary school presentations that we had, and it's so important, and like you said, with the communication with the parents. You know, you give them an opportunity to communicate to you, and you said you get a bunch of responses, but then they kind of trail off as time goes on. I would encourage you to robustly answer those, you know, when people come to you with different responses, because I'm telling you, the wealth of knowledge, I mean, they're the most influential teachers in our students' lives because they spend most of the day with their kids, hopefully. So, I mean, I just would encourage you to focus on it more. But it's a wonderful presentation, Sharon. Thank you.
No, I do agree. I think Green Meadows is fortunate in the way that we had kindergarten orientation today, and we had groups of 5 students at a time with their families come in. The kids are engaging in activities, and the teachers and staff members are kind of going over some first aid logistics and classroom logistics. And because some of these families have students in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, they've heard my spiel a few times. And so I share that because I think I'm very accessible to them because they know me so well. So I think parents will, I think, not give a lot of thought to just shoot me an email and saying, hey Sharon, I wanted to connect with you. And I feel fortunate to be able to have that relationship with the families of you know, my students. I know that not all the other principals are in that same situation. We're getting a brand new set of families every year. So I am grateful to be able to, you know, have good relationships with them, some of them are there for several years. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon.
So continuing on with my report, I actually have an item that I would request a vote on. This is for the updated bullying prevention plan. You have 2 versions of it in your packet, one showing markup and one just showing what the final version will look like. It might be easier to follow one with markup, but whatever works for you, obviously, is best. So although the statute allows bullying prevention plans to run 48 months, the district equity audit recommended that the district prioritize a re-examination of its strategies for preventing bullying due to the high rates of bullying reported by students and families. So we're bringing this new plan to you, which is a year ahead of schedule, in response to that. The district DEI committee focused on updating the bullying prevention plan over the course of several meetings last spring. The updated plan includes additional resources from the DESE website, as well as information about how to file a complaint or a concern with DESE if families feel the district isn't taking appropriate actions to prevent bullying. Additionally, Internet safety is added as a strategy for addressing bullying as much as this behavior occurs online. The chart on page 11 is also extensively revised to reflect new strategies that the district has adopted to address bullying, such as the Kindness Project and equity circles, as well as proactive measures to address school culture, such as shut down the school. These reflect feedback we've received from students and families encouraging us to begin explicit anti-bullying efforts at a younger age. You've heard some of that as schools are presenting their school improvement plans. And so just to highlight some of those for you in the document, the first change, of course, is the revision date. Next, there is a change in professional development. The prior version said that professional development was for teachers specifically, and we are expanding that to include all staff because we think all staff impact students' lives and have the ability to create a culture that is resistant to bullying. In section 4, these are the resources that I referenced involving new information on the DESE website that we want to direct people's attention to. And then you can see the chart on page 11 is basically a complete redo. Not only is it reorganized, but it has a number of new strategies listed. And I really want to, again, call out some of the strategies that are for the younger grades, such as the Kindness Project in grade 4, the equity circles in grade 5. Because if we heard one thing from students who we were talking to about this, it's you need to start earlier. Because we may be seeing bullying at the middle school, but the seeds of it begin much earlier. So we're trying to take a much more proactive approach through this plan. The section 8 is a complete new section. This is the section where we give families information about filing a concern or complaint with the state if they feel that we're not addressing it properly. And then the other change is to update the student services section to reflect current personnel. So that is the work we did over the course of the past spring, and I would respectfully request that the committee's vote to approve these revisions to our bullying prevention plan.
John, before I make the motion, I just want to say thank you for including all staff. I had a cafeteria worker at Linfield Middle School back in the 1800s when I went to middle school, and she said, you know, we're the only people that see every single student every single day. And I was like, wow, that's pretty great. So thank you for including it. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the bullying prevention. Again, to adopt the bullying prevention and intervention plan revised in September 2024.
Second.
Questions or concerns, Rich?
I just want to ask about both of you. About the identifying of the bullies and the identifying of the targets. So what are you using to identify them?
So we're able to identify those primarily through our bullying and harassment reports, which have a place where we take a look at, where we ask the reporter to identify all the individuals who may be involved as perpetrators and all the individuals who may be involved as targets. We then, Lisa actually keeps that information in her office, and we take a look at it in sort of an annual basis to see what patterns involved. Last winter, we did provide a report to the school committee on some of the patterns, and they were quite striking. One of the things we found was that the ages really are the middle school ages where we see the largest spike of this. But I think, to me, the issue that is still most striking is that it was almost entirely a male student phenomenon. We had an opportunity to talk to some female students who were on our DEI committee about that. One of their suggestions is that we may be seeing it that way because the bullying behavior looks a little bit different from male students and female students. That aligns actually with research that says it's more overt externalizing behavior that male students engage in, which is easier to identify and substantiate, and that for females it can look more like social exclusion, which is really harder to pick up on. So I do think that there may be some over-identification of males in that. And I do think that there may be some under-identification at the early levels before middle school. I think part of that is around shifting some thinking about, well, how young can students be when they actually have harassing behavior as part of the repertoire. So part of the goal of bringing the interventions down, or the instruction down to a younger level is to say, no, young kids, second graders, third graders can be engaged in harassment. They can be engaged in racial harassment or sexual harassment, and trying to address it directly for what it is at that age hopefully will cause us to have a reduction in bullying overall as time goes on.
I was asking the questions because if you, I'm not sure what system you're using to track that all, but if you are looking at the SIS, which is something about, is that we did a lot of bullying there. So it's fine. If you put every incident into the system, it tells you who the targets are in order, it tells you who the bullies are, a little debt information, if you do all kinds of statistics. I'm not sure if that's what you're using or you're using something else, but it's to kind of help computers identify this things that you might not know. This kid might be the target of 10 different bullies. You want to say it's especially the target for some reason to be able to speak to them as well as the. So I'm not sure if you're using it from K to 12 or where you use the system that all kinds of comes together to actually produce reports that would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Now just continuing with my report, I'd like to share that we've begun working on crafting a vision equity statement for the district. As was mentioned in our last meeting, it's important for the district to define what it means by equity, because individuals bring all kinds of assumptions about equity, and that can lead to misunderstandings and concerns, some of which may be founded and some of which may not be founded. It's also a component of our equity improvement plan. Faculty and staff worked on this together at Convocation. We have 3 draft versions I'd like to share as provisional definitions of equity until such time as we can come forward with a single final version. So first version is the Wilbraham Public Schools is committed to fostering an inclusive, equitable, and supportive learning environment where all students can thrive. We believe in providing individualized opportunities and resources for every student to achieve their full potential, celebrating diversity as a strength and ensuring all voices are valued, eliminating barriers to success and promoting a culture of respect and belonging, engaging with families and the community to support the growth and well-being of all students. Together, we strive to create a district where every child is empowered to succeed. Version 2 is we commit to creating a supportive and inclusive learning environment where every student is seen, heard, valued, and empowered. We embrace diverse identities and learning styles, ensuring equitable access to high-quality instruction and resources. Our goal is to dismantle systemic barriers and promote open, honest communication, allowing all members of our community to thrive intellectually, socially, and emotionally as contributing members of a global society. Provide inclusive, differentiated instruction tailored to all students' needs. Foster a culture of acceptance, empathy, and respect for all. Promote collaboration among students, staff, families, and the community. The third version is we are dedicated to fostering a supportive and inclusive environment where every student is seen, heard, and valued. We strive to provide equitable resources and individualized opportunities for all students. Celebrate diversity and promote a culture of respect and belonging. Dismantle barriers to success through collaboration with families and the community. Our goal is to empower every student to thrive as a confident and contributing member of society. Now, none of these drafts is final or complete. They obviously are aligned with each other and will serve as a guide as we seek to crystallize what we mean by the term equity as the district. That will be the work of the DEI committee over the course of the fall. Turning next towards enrollment, we began the year with 2,881 students, which is 35 more than October 1st count of last year. Finally, as you know, our school opening was impacted by the effects of mold remediation at Wilbraham Middle School. At this time last week, you would have seen a patchwork of impacts at WMS. You would see a classroom that had been minimally affected and seemed ready to go right next door to another classroom that has virtually nothing in it other than furniture. However, by Thursday and Friday for sure, you could see the school was coming back to life. When we opened on Tuesday, everyone was ready to go. The list of people to be thanked is extensive and comes in waves. First, there were the facilities and maintenance staff who discovered the problem and implemented an extensive cleaning protocol over the course of weeks, which was all day, all night, weekends, you name it. Then came the faculty who pulled together to share resources and adjust plans so that school could open looking as it should. Next, vendors helped us to replace many lost items at deep discounts. And now the communities are rallying around the school, headed by the PTO, which has organized an Amazon wish list, and it's helped, actually 2 Amazon wish lists at this point, and it's helping teachers to rebuild classroom libraries. I'd like to thank PTO President Kelly O'Brien specifically for her work organizing these efforts. And so I'll end by helping the PTO get the word out about its classroom library book drive by encouraging anyone who is seeking to rehome any books appropriate for middle schoolers that volunteers will be on hand from 2:30 to 4:30 tomorrow to accept any donations you wish to make, and that's at the middle school. And that's my report.
If I may make a quick, we had this form that we used to look at before, and it would have like the different year over year on the the 1st of October, and several comparative. Is there a reason why we changed to this format as opposed to the one before, where we'd be able to look in? Why are you laughing, Michelle?
There's an pre-email from meetings. The person that usually usually does the attendance report was out. So this will be presented at the next meeting. We'll have the updated sheet year over year.
All right, thank you. Well, that's if I would say, I found out from my brother-in-law, Dan Roy, who used to be the principal of the middle school, that mold was an issue when he was there. So this has been a problem over the years, and I'm really happy with how we've jumped on it and really fixed an issue that's been a problem. Hopefully we can stay on top of it so we won't have any problems like this anymore. So thank you very much. And I thought your communications were just outstanding, and please keep up that transparent communication. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will.
I have a quick question too, John, just that, you know how around incidents like this, there can be billions of rumors, rumor mill and stuff like that. One rumor that came to my ears was that there's going to be a need to completely overhaul the HVAC system, the AC system in the middle school building. Is there any truth to something like that that would be such a huge cost?
So I guess I would just say, following on with Mr. Kennedy's comments, we're very motivated to try to make sure this doesn't happen again. At this point, we're trying to figure out what measures would be most effective in making sure that it doesn't happen again. And I don't know what those are. I wouldn't say there's any truth to those rumors because we haven't figured out exactly what needs to be done.
Thank you.
Just urge you to get a study of the wetlands that ring the school. And we've had this problem for many years, and it's difficult because it's wetlands and they're protected. But something, I'm afraid that in 5 years we'll be talking about mold.
Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. Okay, so we will continue. It is now time for public comment. It doesn't appear that anyone's here unless anyone would like to make a comment. By the way, I did not announce that Dave from Wilbraham Public Access is returning this meeting. So we will begin with the curriculum subcommittee. No update. Planning subcommittee, we are just waiting to hear back from the Wilbraham Board of Select who our new member would be, but we're hopefully planning on a meeting towards the end of the month. Finance and operations and technology.
Yeah, I would be communicating and beginning something that will start hopefully the end of this month.
The LPDA collaborative representative.
Nothing to report.
So negotiations, similarly, we will be convening at some point, and we will report back when it's appropriate. And policy subcommittee.
I don't have anything to report, nor do I have anything to read.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question on the LPD there? Tim, did you volunteering for the, I think it's the vice presidency, open for Minor Valley Collaborative? I thought we had a meeting several weeks ago where we were talking about
No, I believe you're the representative for the. I believe you're the representative for the LPDA corporation. I think that's what you're referring to, so you're the representative for that.
I don't know if they've had a meeting though.
No.
I keep getting names of emails saying that I have to sign this paperwork. And I've already signed out that the collaborative is not being on that particular committee. So, and that was done a
I'll
week after.
send Phyllis a message.
And I've sent Phyllis a message, I went in person too, but good luck.
We'll see what happens.
Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. So moving on to the future agenda items,
Wait, do we want to read the donation?
if you'd like to.
Oh. Sure. Anybody have it handy?
Yes, you want it?
Okay. Thank you. Everybody read it. So we just want to thank the Junior Women's Club for their donation of $1,000 to Minnetonka Regional High School for social and emotional programming. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anything that anyone would like to add to the future agenda items? We do have 2 items on there, stabilization funds. Also, the regional agreement will be an item, school committee, sorry, it was on there, I think it got taken off. Not personal, school committee representative to sign warrants. Is there anything else that anyone would like added?
Yeah, I would like us to have a discussion about taking a position on question 2 that's on the ballot.
Okay. Is anything, Sean?
Yeah, I think there was one other, we just got a donation from Amazon down in Connecticut, and I guess they had another thing that they wanted us to sign, because they want to make us an official charity for Amazon, and then rather than just these 2 stations, we could be getting stuff from 10 different stations, 20 different stations around New England. I would recommend us revisiting that. If you could share the verbiage and stuff, we could, have a look at that.
We'll add that for next agenda. Okay, anything else? Okay, our next meeting is Thursday, September 19th at 6:30 in the library at TWD. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Cheryl?
Aye.
Tim?
If there is any work that has been done on the agreement, I would like to be brought up to date on that. I have some concerns about that.
Okay, we'll make sure it's, it's in the drive. Okay, Sean?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Mike?
Yep.
And myself, aye. You're adjourned 7:46. Thank you.
Warrants, please. Okay,